Section 172 Vaisampayana said, after Vyasa had gone away, those bulls among men, the Pandavas, saluted the Brahmana and bade him farewell, and proceeded towards Panchala with joyous arts, and with their mother walking before them. Those slayers of all foes, in order to reach their destination, proceeded in a due northerly direction, walking day and night till they reached a sacred shrine of Shiva with the crescent mark on his brow. Then those tigers among men, the sons of Pandu, arrived at the banks of the Ganges. Dhananjaya, that mighty car warrior, walking before them, touch in hand for showing the way and guarding them against wild animals. And it so happened that at that time the proud king of the Gandharvas with his wives was sporting in that solitary region, in the delightful waters of the Ganges. The king of the Gandharva heard the tread of the Pandavas as they approached the river. On hearing the sounds of their footsteps, the mighty Gandharvas was inflamed with wrath, and beholding those chastiser of foes, the Pandavas approached towards him with their mother. He drew his frightful bow to a circle and said, "It is known that excepting the first 40 seconds, the great twilight proceeding nightfall had been appointed for the wandering of the Yakshas, the Gandharvas and the Rakshasas, all of whom are capable of going everywhere at will. The rest of the time hath been appointed for man to do his work. If therefore men wandering during those moments from greed of gain come near us, both we and the Rakshasas slay those fools. Therefore, persons acquainted with the Vedas never applaud those men, not even the kings at the head of their troops, who approach any pools of water at such a time. Stay here at the distance, and approach me not. Know he not that I am bathing in the waters of the Bhagirathi. Know that I am Angaraparna, the Gandharva, ever relying on my own strength. I am proud and haughty, and I am the friend of Kuvera. This my forest on the banks of the Ganges, where I sport to gratify all my senses, is called Angaranaparna, after my own name. Here neither gods, nor Kapalikas, nor Gandharvas, nor Yakshas can come. How dare ye approach me, who am the brightest jewel on the diadem of Kuvera?" Hearing these words of the Gandharva, Arjuna said, "Blockhead, whether it be day, night, or twilight, who can bar others from the ocean, the sides of the Himalayas, and this river? O Ranger of the skies, whether the stomach be empty or full, whether it is night or day, there is no special time for anybody to come to the Ganga, that foremost of all rivers, as regards ourselves endued with might. We care not when we disturb thee. Wicked being, those who are weak in fighting worship you. This Ganga, issuing out of the golden peaks of Himavat, falleth into the waters of the ocean, being distributed into 7 streams. They who drink the waters of these 7 streams, viz. Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, Vitashta, Sarayu, Gomati, and Gandaki, are cleansed of all their sins. O Gandharva, this sacred Ganga, again flowing through the celestial region, is called there the Alakananda. It hath again in the region of the Pitris become the Vaitarani, difficult of being crossed by sinners, and Krishna Dvaipayana himself hath said so. The auspicious and celestial river, capable of leading to heaven them that touch its waters, is free from all dangers. Why dost thou then desire to bar us from it? This act of thine is not in consonant with eternal virtue. Disregarding thy words, why shall we not touch the sacred waters of the Bhagirathi, free from all dangers and from which none can bar us? Vaisampayana continued, hearing those words of Arjuna, Angaraparna became inflamed with wrath and drawing his bow to a circle, began to shoot his arrows like venomous snakes at the Pandavas. Then Dhananjaya, the son of Pandu, wielding a good shield and the torch he held in his hand, warded off all those arrows, and addressing the Gandharva again said, O Gandharva, seek not to terrify those that are skilled in weapons, for weapons hurled at them vanish like froth. I think, O Gandharva, that they are superior in prowess to men. Therefore, shall I fight with thee using celestial weapons, and not with any crooked means. This fiery weapon that I shall hurl at thee, Brihaspati, the reverend preceptor of Indra, gave on to Bharadwaja, from whom it was obtained by Agniveshya, and from Agniveshya by my preceptor, that foremost of Brahmanas, Drona, who gave it away to me. Vaishampayana continued, saying these words, the Pandava wrathfully hurled at the Gandharva that blazing weapon made of fire, which burned the Gandharva's chariot in a trice. Deprived of consciousness by the force of that weapon, the mighty Gandharva was falling head downward from his chariot. Dhananjaya seized him by the hair of his head, adorned with garlands of flowers, and thus dragged the unconscious Gandharva towards his brothers. Beholding this, that Gandharva's wife, Kumbhinashi, desirous of saving her husband, ran towards Yudhishthira and sought his protection. The Gandhavi said, O exalted one, extend to me thy protection. O set my husband free. O Lord, I am Kumbhinashi by name, the wife of this Gandharva, who seek thy protection. Beholding her so afflicted, the mighty Yudhishthira addressed Arjuna and said, O slayer of foes, O child, who would slay a foe who hath been vanquished in fight, who hath been deprived of fame, who is protected by a woman, and who hath no prowess? Arjuna replied, saying, Take thou thy life, O Gandharva, go hence and grieve not. Yudhishthira, the king of the Kurus, commandeth me to show thee mercy. The Gandharva replied, I have been vanquished by thee. I shall therefore abandon my former name, Angaraparna, the blazing vehicle. As I have been vanquished by thee, I shall therefore abandon my former name. In name alone, O friend, I should not be boastful, when my pride in my strength hath been overcome. I have been fortunate in that I have obtained thee, O Arjuna, that wielder of celestial weapons. I like to impart to thee the power of producing illusions, which Gandharvas alone have. My excellent and variegated chariot hath been burned by means of thy fiery weapon. I, who had formerly been called after my excellent chariot, should now be called after my burnt chariot. The science of producing illusions that I have spoken of was formerly obtained by me by ascetic penances. That science I will today impart to the giver of my life, thy illustrious self. What good luck doth he not deserve, who after overcoming a foe by his might, giveth him life, when that foe asketh for it. This science is called Vahakshushi. Chakshushi. It was communicated by Manu unto Soma, and by Soma unto Vishwavasu, and lastly by Vishwavasu unto me. Communicated by my preceptor, that science having come unto me, who am without energy, is gradually becoming fruitless. I have spoken to thee about its origin and transmission. Listen now to its power. One may see by its aid whatever one wished to see, and whatever may he like, generally or particularly. One can acquire this science only after standing on one leg for 6 months. I shall, however, communicate to thee this science without thyself being obliged to observe any rigid vow. O King, it is for this knowledge that we are superior to men, and capable as we are, seeing everything by spiritual sight. It is for this that we are equal to the gods. O best of men, I intend to give thee and each of thy brothers 100 steeds born in the country of the Gandharvas, of celestial color and endued with the speed of the mind. Those horses are employed in bearing the celestials and the Gandharvas. They may be lean-fleshed, but they tire not, nor doth their speed suffer on that account. In days of yore, the thunderbolt was created for the chief of the celestials, in order that he might slay the Asura, Vitra, with it. But hurled at Vitra's head, it broke into 1,000 pieces. The celestials worshipped with reverence those fragments of the thunderbolt. That which is known in the three worlds as glory is but a portion of the thunderbolt. The hand of the Brahmana with which he poureth libations on the sacrificial fire, the chariot upon which the Kshatriya fighteth, the charity of the Vaishya, and the service of the Sudra rendereth on to the three other classes are all fragments of the thunderbolt. It hath been said that horses, forming as they do a portion of the Kshatriya's chariot, are on that account unslayable. Again, horses which from a portion of the Kshatriya's chariot are the offspring of the Vadava, those amongst them that are born in the region of the Gandharvas can go everywhere and assume any hue and speed at the will of their owners. These horses of mine that I give thee will always gratify thy wishes. On hearing these words of the Gandharvas, Arjuna said, O Gandharva, if from satisfaction for having obtained thy life at my hands in a situation of danger, thou givest me thy signs and these horses, I will not accept thy gift. The Gandharva replied, saying, A meeting with an illustrious person is ever a source of gratifications. Besides, thou hast given me my life. Gratified with thee, I will give thee my signs, that the obligation, however, may not all be on one side. I will take from thee, O Vibhatsu, O bull in Bharata's race, thy excellent and eternal weapon of fire. Arjuna said, I would accept thy horses in exchange for my weapon. Let our friendship last forever. O friend, tell us for what we human beings have to stand in fear of the Gandharvas, chastisers of foes, that we are virtuous and conversant with the Vedas. Tell us, O Gandharva, why in traveling in the night time we have been censured by thee. The Gandharva said, Ye are without wives, though ye have completed the period of study. Ye are without a particular ashrama, mode of life. Lastly, ye are without a Brahmana walking before. Therefore, ye sons of Pandu, ye have been censured by me. The Yakshas, Rakshasas, Gandharvas, Pisachas, Uragas, and Dhanavas are possessed of wisdom and intelligence, and acquainted with the history of the Kuru race. O hero, I too have heard from Narada and other celestial rishis about the good deeds of your wise ancestors. I myself too, while roaming over the whole earth, bounded by her belt of seas, have witnessed the prowess of thy great race. O Arjuna, I have personal knowledge of thy preceptor, the illustrious son of Bharadwaja, celebrated throughout the three worlds for his knowledge of the Vedas, the science of arms, O tiger in Kuru's race, O son of Pritha, I also know Dharma, Vayu, Sakra, the twin Ashwins, and Pandu, these six perpetuators of Kuru race, these excellent celestials and human progenitors of you all. I also know that you five brothers are learned and high-souled, that ye are foremost of all wielders of weapons, that ye are brave and virtuous, and observant of vows, knowing that your understanding and arts are excellent and your behavior faultless. I have yet censured you, for O thou of Kuru's race, it behoveth no man endued with might of arms, to bear with patience any ill usage in the sight of his wife, especially as, O son of Kunti, our might increaseth during the hours of darkness. Accompanied by my wife, I was filled with wrath. O best of vow-observing men, I have, however, been vanquished by thee in battle. Listen to me as I tell thee the reasons that have led to my discomfiture. The Brahmacharya is a very superior mode of life, and as thou art in that mode now, it is for this, O Partha, that I have been defeated by thee in battle. O chastiser of foes, if any married Kshatriya fight with us at night, he can never escape with life. But O Partha, a married Kshatriya who is sanctified with Brahma and who hath assigned the cares of his state to a priest, might vanquish all wanders in the night. O child of Tapati, men should therefore ever employ learned priests possessing self-command for the acquisition of every good luck they desire. That Brahmana is worthy of being the king's priest, who is learned in the Vedas and the six branches thereof, who is pure and truthful, who is of virtuous soul and possessed of self-command. The monarch becometh ever victorious, and finally earneth heaven, who hath for his priests a Brahmana conversant with the rules of morality, who is a master of words, and who is pure and of good behavior. The king should always select an accomplished priest in order to acquire what he hath not and protect what he hath. He who desireth his own prosperity should ever be guided by his priest, for he may then obtain even the whole earth surrounded by her belt of seas. O son of Tapati, a king who is without a Brahmana can never acquire any land by his bravery of glory of birth alone. Know therefore, O perpetuator of Kuru's race, that the kingdom lasteth forever in which Brahmanas have power. Thus ends the 172nd section in the Chaitra Parva, Chaitra Ratha Parva of the Adi Parva.